But that's a domestic concern.
Exactly the point. All not by itself, but I think our misguided military efforts in the Middle East have contributed in an important way to the loss of confidence in our democracy.
Dr. Bacevich, I had queued up this question, but now it just sounds silly to ask it. But to cap this off, I'm compelled to ask it. Has our military involvement in the Middle East paid off?
Well, not in any positive sense,
Hmm.
but I think that if we look at all of the actions undertaken in response to the Carter Doctrine, our military involvement going back to 1980, the effects have been profound.
Profound.
Uh, and to my mind, the most important effect is not a direct one; it's an indirect one. But as you and I sit here and speak, I don't know how you feel about what I'm about to say, but I am deeply, deeply worried about the health of our democracy. And I look forward to the next presidential election with trepidation.
Me and yes, you and I both, sir.
Okay.
But
But
that's a
but
domestic concern.
exactly the point. In other words, that if we really want to understand the impact of our military involvement, foreign policy involvement in the Middle East, I think we need to look at our domestic situation. I think not by itself, but I think our misguided military efforts in the Middle East have contributed in an important way to the loss of confidence in our democracy and
Ah,
to the growth of cynicism in our political system that puts the constitutional order at risk as we move into this election year.
the way you portray it, Dr. Basevich, it sounds like you're saying that our military involvement in the Middle East is actually endangering us here back home. Perhaps
It
not military.
has.
It
It has
has
over time.
politically and
Yeah,
culturally.
yeah. So, I mean, thought experiment. Uh, uh, all these years after Jimmy Carter promulgated the Carter Doctrine, we still have U.S. forces in the region, most notably, I think, in Iraq and in Syria. There's small numbers. I think it's a total of 3,000 or 4,000 troops. They're being attacked on almost a daily basis. Doesn't get a lot of attention in the press,
No, it doesn't.
but there are casualties being sustained. Uh,
Wait,
Thought
where
experiment.
Americans are being killed now in the Middle East?
Injured.
Injured. Okay.
Rocket attacks, mostly, as I
Yeah, yeah,
understand it.
yeah.
In Syria and in Iraq. Thought experiment. Imagine if one of those attacks in one of those small US bases kills tonight, God forbid,
God
kills
forbid.
tonight 20 US soldiers.
Oh,
What
that's
would
not.
be the
Oh,
impact on our politics of the moment? Or
oh,
to be more pointed, how would Donald Trump react to that?
well, he would say, let's go bomb the heck out of whoever the culprit is, or we'll find one. That's probably what he would want to do, right?
I don't think so. I
You don't
think
think
what he
so?
would say is here is further evidence of the incompetence of the Biden administration,
Oh,
spreading
wow.
US troops around, and now they're getting killed for no purpose whatsoever. Elect me president, and I will ensure that US forces are not put in danger in this way. And I think that would be a powerful selling point. Again,
Wow.
a thought experiment.
Yeah.
And I would bet you that Biden's political advisors are acutely aware of that danger.
So are
Uh,
you advocating that we don't have any bases in the Middle East?
yeah,
Is that
pretty
what you,
much I am. Or to back up a second, my argument would be that, again, go back to the Carter Doctrine,
mhm.
which declared that the U.S. had vital interests in the region, interests worth fighting for. A statement which then, in my argument, leads to the militarization of U.S. policy in the region and multiple wars. Here we are in 2024. I would argue we don't have vital interests in the region. We have interests, not unimportant ones, worth fighting for? I don't think so.
If
So there, go ahead.
if we I'm neither for or against it, but this really intrigues me, Dr. Bacevich. If we close down, shut down our military bases in the Middle East and stop intervening there until
Yep.
there's some major crisis that compels us to do so, doesn't that open the door for others?
Who?
What's to stop China or the Soviet Union from
Well, the Soviet Union doesn't exist.
Russia, Mr. Putin? That's what I meant to say.
I think
Yes.
he's got his hands full already
Yeah.
in Ukraine, uh,
Well,
and China is a ambitious nation,
yeah, yeah.
but China doesn't appear to embark upon policies of conquest. How many big wars has China fought in the last half century compared to how many big wars we've
Yeah,
fought?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what,
That's a good point.
but the real point is, uh, I would argue that a lower U.S. profile puts the pressure on countries in the region to try to solve their own problems. Uh, there are some indications between Iran and Saudi Arabia that the rulers of those two countries are interested in some kind of arrangement that would reduce the level of hostilities between the two. That would be good for us.
Yeah, it would be. And China had a lot to do with that diplomatically.
And China did have a lot, we think,
Yeah,
as far as we can tell.
yeah.
So let's not get in the way of the possibility of others solving their own problems.
That's an interesting point. In many ways, for example, if you look at, I don't know, for example, Chile and Bolivia, they fought wars. Chile cut off Bolivia from the ocean, but at
Right,
some point they had to stop fighting because they didn't have the resources. But
right.
us being there changes the dynamics of
You got it.
power in the region and may
Exactly.
prolong or instigate a war. Um, Dr. Bacevich, if you wanted our audience to remember just one point about America's military presence in the Middle East after everything we've talked about, what would that one point be?
It would be one that you and I already reflected on, and that is that misguided wars have weakened American democracy here at home
Yeah.
and have created vulnerabilities in our democracy that all of us, I think, should take seriously.
Wonderful. Dr. Bacevich, I very much enjoyed this conversation. Thank you again for your time. I look forward to having you on our program again. And to our audience, please join me next week as I speak with another scholar in our special podcast series, Unraveling the Middle East.